What's up, PHP and Laravel community? What's up? How everyone is feeling today? Welcome back to another live stream. And today we are going to do among other things, reviewing your code. That will be the session today. You guys love that series, and I love it, too. So we have a bunch of repos here to review all together, and we are going to see, kind of reviewing the community's code. It will be awesome. Excited to see everyone. Pick and Flow, what's up? Puyapal, what's up? Frankie, nice to see you. Nima, nice to see you as well. Tony, nice to see you. And yeah, we're going to dive into that. It will be awesome. Julian, what's up, man? Nice to see you, man. All right, before we jump into it, I do have here a couple of discussions to do. One of them being, I tweeted literally yesterday that using fillables on Laravel models is the same as riding a bike with the training wheels. This sparked a huge discussion that, fillables are super important and everything like that. I get super confused about this because, the theory behind fillable or the property fillable is that it acts a safeguard of, bad usage of Laravel models, okay? However, we may actually just not even use Laravel models to interact with the database, or we may not use, there is 100 different ways of doing shit, basically. So why Laravel models should have this extra protection? So I honestly don't understand that. A lot of people do like the tweet, which is I do believe that they just agree with me. But the fact, the protection against mass assignment is something that I will never understand ever. So for that reason, my starter kits don't use fillables at all. Let me know, what do you think on the comments below. CVTML, what's up, man? Nice to see you. Welcome to the live stream. Mauro, nice to see you as well. Patrick, what's up, dude? Nice to see you all. And what else did happen yesterday? So, we have Puyapal, which apparently will have a PHP Laravel legend going to his live stream. Guess who it is? I have no idea, but I have a small idea, maybe. We have Taylor Otwell, who have released this new cache failover support. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't read this yet, and I don't know what it is, but apparently is cache failover automatically tries a backup cache if your primary cache is down. Oh, so it's like having, kind of, if your cache goes down, something like DynamoDB, like yesterday on AWS, it uses a different cache, for example, the database or an array. This is incredibly useful. I think in my apps, I may default to array, which will always work regardless because it's in memory. Great feature from Taylor Otwell. Yesterday, I also tweeted this nice tweet, which says the following. As a staff software engineer, I will say this clearly, even with the strongest models on the market, in perfectly written guidelines, AI-generated code will sneak security vulnerabilities, bugs, and all kinds of surprises. Strong tooling like defensive static analysis and solid testing can help you, but the rule still stands, which is always review every single character that AI writes, okay? I'm gonna tell you something, chat. This is very important. On the last, let's say, 3 weeks, I have been actively working on 3 new products at the same time, okay? So I'm developing People Up, which is something you guys have seen on the previous live stream, which is something that is currently is a work in progress. Already have a few users, but it's a work in progress already. And you guys can access the early access, by the way. I forgot to tell you about this. Oh my God, I literally forgot to tell you about this. Here we go, chat. You guys can apply for early access using this link. And People Up, in case you don't know, will be an alternative to Social Blade, will give a space for creators and people looking for creators to coexist. It will be absolutely awesome, but it's a work in progress. Regardless, I'm building this app plus building 2 different apps, which I cannot disclose. And something I have noticed is that I heavily rely on Cloud Code, okay? I rely on Cloud Code heavily on these 3 new apps I'm building. One of them being People Up. And what I have noticed is that exactly just like I write on this tweet, is that even with perfect guidelines, okay, and then we may actually switch to this screen. Even with perfect guidelines, everything written down for the AI to follow will still sneak in security vulnerabilities, bugs, all kind of surprises, will not exactly do the things in the way that you want in the way that you do yourself, okay? Sometimes it does it in a better way, but more often doesn't in a bad way. Okay, and I have, on PeopleUp, I have seen the AI generated code that end up being actually security vulnerability, for example. Okay, so even if you guys are using stuff like Cloud Code Sonnet 4.5, which is probably the best AI model out there at the moment, do not ever rely on AI to commit the codes by themselves, okay? And I have seen recently Cloud Code actually sometimes suggests you that if you want to actually just push this commit, these changes that he have made, you guys need to be super smart about that and do your actual job, which is reviewing the code AI is producing, okay? Why are you looking big today? You mean the webcam? So I have multiple layers. I have this layer and I have this layer. Okay, here I'm looking smaller. On this one, I'm looking bigger. Two different layers. This one is a little bit better than when I'm chatting with you guys while sharing my screen. I like it more. Frankie, client is the worst AI nightmare. Client? What do you mean exactly? What do you mean exactly? Yeah, boy, Julian is saying the following: AI really works well when you have clear requirements. Unfortunately, we rarely have clear requirements. Yeah, but also, like, let me just turn off the AC. Like, the AC was putting literally heat. Jesus Christ. Did you cut your air again, Nuno? I did not. This is literally the air from my last live stream, okay? So, that being said, chat, be super mindful about AI-generated code and be sure to review it all the time. What else we have? My brother, actually, my brother is currently working with me on my YouTube channel. He's working on this new YouTube channel we are building, call it Nuno Maduro Clips, okay? And I do need your help, chat. If you guys can, subscribe to that channel. This is basically a channel that will reuse some of my content that is actually good, some of my content in the past, and just take the best bits of that content and have this nice 1 to 4 minutes videos, okay? A bunch of you said that my main channel has a lot of big videos, which it does have to have big videos so it can grow on the timeline and also grow in terms of reach. YouTube counts views, but also counts watch time. And something that this small videos don't give you is watch time. So I cannot have this type of content on my main channel. So my brother is literally going to every single video I have, extract the best content there, and produce nice to 1 for 4 minutes videos, okay? So if you guys enjoy short videos, this is the channel that you need to follow, okay? Okay. Puepal is saying, cool. Mr. Funny, good feeling, you say, is a great idea. Thank you, thank you. Also gives me the opportunity to be with my brother a little bit more often than usual, which is super nice. Vildan Bina is saying the following: any reason you have multiple channels instead of putting all content inside one channel? It's about reach on YouTube. So basically on YouTube doesn't like when you put a video that doesn't have any watch time. Meaning that if I were to put a 50 seconds video that is not a short, that will heavily penalize my main channel, and I don't want that. So what I have done is that, all right, so you guys want this kind of small videos, which you can watch individually and one by one. So let's just create a clips channel and let's just reuse that content here, okay? Okay. So again, give me a follow to my, give a small support to my brother and follow the clips video that we have been working on all together, okay? All together. You can submit the repos to review on my Discord channel, which I will open right now. Let me open this real quick. Yeah, on my Discord channel, there is a room called Review My Project, and you can submit your projects there, okay? And the Discord channel or the Discord link is the following. I'm going to send it to you, chat. I'm going to send it to you. Here we go. Here we go. You can join the Discord channel, and then you have a room called Review My Project where you can submit your links. Today, we are going to review people's projects, okay? A bunch of you have submitted links so I can review your projects, and we have at least, and this is not completed yet, 4 repos to review. Okay, we have, the first one is called Rent Service, which apparently is a renting service, and I'm going to review everything, from the title to the README to the database, everything, okay? The Rent Service, this is number 1. Wrap-pagos, which is something in Spanish. We have Weight Tracker, which by the title, I can immediately understand what it is. That's how important the title is, by the way. We have Buzzly, which I have literally no idea what it is. And we have this project called Breakdown, okay? 5 projects to review. We are going to review them all together as a family, and we are going to understand every single bits. Maro Casas is saying, I'm getting reviewed. Well, if your project is one of them, yes, you are. FaceNam, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. How you doing? Big Kino is saying, hello, hello, nice to see you. Sival Tival, thank you so much for the following. Famazen is saying, I'm thinking about learning Laravel in PHP. Dude, you are the best. If you're thinking about learning Laravel in PHP, congratulations. You have entered into the realm of the best technology in the world, okay? So I'm going to send you this link called laracast.com, which is literally the best place in the world to be, okay? Okay. People is saying I've shared a small package. So apparently you guys are already sending links to my Discord channel, so I'm going to copy those links and put them here. Hook Press is one of them. Second one by Puyapal called it Laravel Extended Relationships. Interesting. So 2 more projects add to the list. Okay, add to the list. Thank you. Okay, so what else we have? We have to say thanks to our sponsors, laracast.com, the best place to learn Laravel and PHP development, in React, to be honest, everything in between. We also have Code Rabbit sponsor our channel, the best software as a service to review your code through pull requests, which is absolutely awesome. Devin AI, the best software engineer that literally does stuff for you. Keep this in mind. And obviously, Red Bear International, the best digital agency for Vue and Laravel development. Native PHP, which is someone that we're going to have here on live streams. Native PHP, that's right. The best way of doing mobile development using PHP, which is absolutely awesome, chat. Absolutely awesome. And of course, JetBrains, PHP Storm, the best editor in the entire planet. Let's clap for our support channel. Our supports are absolutely awesome. Thank you. What else? In case you missed, I'm actively working on my People Up SaaS at the moment as we speak, which will be a space for creators and people looking for creators. So if you guys want to access the early access, there is a button here. Here we go. Okay. All right, chat. That's it. It's moment of truth. So we have talked about my YouTube channel. We have talked about the Clips channel. We have talked about my Twitter. And that's it, I guess. Yeah, that's it. It's time to jump into some code review. The first project we are reviewing together, it's called PHP Rent Service. Okay? PHP Rent Service. So let's go all the way down and see what this project is about. Just be mindful about the following. It's missing here a small description about this project. Typically, people looking for, or if they are searching on GitHub, this is what they are going to see. This small about on the top right, which is clearly missing, meaning that it's already a negative point to this project, okay? A small about description will be really helpful. Also, you can remove these releases and packages and deployments if you are not using this at all. Let's go all the way down. And this is apparently a rent-a-car project with pure PHP. Pure PHP, chat. Does this mean that we don't have any framework? If not, this will be interesting. If we don't have any framework on this project, this will be interesting. So the overview is a rent-a-car system built with pure PHP. I think the best word here, if we are talking about no frameworks, this would be vanilla PHP. By the way, chat, super important. Doing a project using vanilla PHP is absolutely crazy, okay? It's something that you probably shouldn't do, okay? It is crazy. You are probably missing out a bunch of features that typically come with frameworks like Symfony and Laravel, okay? However, as an experiment, I do think you guys should do it at least once in your life so we can understand, or so you guys can feel the pain of not using a framework. I don't know if you guys have done that. Let's actually ask that on the chat. Type on the chat if you ever have done a project without any framework, and type yes if yes. and type no if you always have used something like Laravel and Symfony. I have built a project without any framework, and it's absolutely mind-blowing the amount of power that frameworks like Symfony and Laravel give you. Okay. Wow, a lot of you have literally coded projects without any frameworks, which I'm going to tell you, that's brave from you and actually put you ahead of other developers in the sense that you learn about many of the pure functions or vanilla functions that PHP give you. Things like session start or things like, $_post. So you will learn about all of that, which you never will need, but it's always good to know about, okay? Always good to know about. Trying to write your own framework is something that all developers should do. Okay, all developers should do, literally to learn about, how this actual frameworks solve some problems. Okay, we have about 50 people on YouTube, but only 9 likes. People on YouTube go all the way down and put like on this video. Unacceptable. Literally 9 people, 10 likes on the video, but literally 50 people on watching. Unacceptable, chat. Unacceptable. That being said, using vanilla PHP is something that all developers should do at least once in their life, okay? At least once in their life. They should also like this video, so go all the way down and like this video if you can. Anyways, we also see the goals of this project, which is literally learn and apply PSR4 with custom PHP architecture by using vanilla PHP. That's nice that we have written this down. Build a fruit CRUD with routing, SQLite, and authentication in vanilla way, I assume. Style with Tailwind CSS and use Alpine.js for multi-step reservation wizard. Interesting. So give some dynamic behavior using Alpine.js. I like the way you have written this README, by the way. This README is in the very clear way, meaning that almost feels that it wasn't written by AI. You know what I mean? Typically, when content is written by AI, it just contains a bunch of bullshit, like a bunch of stuff, nothing really special that is concrete. This is literally a bullet list, which I really appreciate. So congratulations about this. So TLDR, we are going to review a project, which is Rent-A-Car project using vanilla PHP, but we're also using Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js and SQLite and authentication as well. So let's go all the way up. And we see a structure that almost feels like Laravel, honestly. I'm looking at the app folder. I'm looking at the database folder. I'm looking at the public folder. The logs is a little bit different, and the core is a little bit different too, and the bin too. So let's start with going all the way up and click on application, okay? We click on application when we see controllers, middlewares, models, services, and views. By the way, chat, that's why I think you guys should never go to a custom folder architecture or sometimes think about being, extra complicated when you develop your tools or your projects. Just keep it simple. Okay, just have a folder controllers, a folder models, a folder services, and the folder views. This is beautiful. Super easy to understand. I can jump into this project, even though it's not even using a framework, I can jump into this project and understand where things are, okay? So let's click on models to have a clear picture of the database behind the scenes. And of course, apparently we have users. Users may have or may perform a reservation. A reservation might be under review, I assume. A reservation will have probably one over many cars, and also will have one payment. This is beautiful. Again, a models folder really gives you understanding about what you are dealing with. I love when I can. It's a very good sign when you jump into a models folder and you can understand clearly the picture about the software you are working on. You know what I mean? By the way, chat, let me know what you think when you jump into a models folder and you can understand clearly the domain that you are working on. This typically happens to me all the time. Being able to jump into a models folder and have this clear picture is really cool. Let's click on user to see what we have to deal with here. Ooh. Okay. Well, a lot to think about here. One of the things is that is indeed using a custom framework or its own framework or just literally pure PHP. I don't know yet. But it doesn't look like Laravel. It's not Laravel for sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay, there is a few things here. There is multiple ones actually. Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I guess like a bunch of what we are seeing right now is just the result of using our own framework. Okay. So obviously we see SQL being written in your model directly instead of using your own RRM. That's just one example. We see static access to dependencies of the container directly on static methods. What else do we see? We see the code not being styled using PSR 12, which is something which typically, I would expect from this project. I assume he's not using even Laravel Pint. Let me see here. Yeah, he's not using Laravel Pint, which is probably a good addition he could have made. Literally just using Laravel Pint as a required dev dependency, so you can have your code fully styled. Also, just in general, having public properties and that can be mutated by the system everywhere is not a good thing either. Yeah, a lot to talk about here, but obviously, like, he's using his own custom framework, so this almost feels like legacy code, This gives me a PHP 2012 vibe, indeed. Indeed, man. He's not a maniac, man. You need to understand that he just went through the experience of writing his own framework. And obviously, the writing your own framework, the result is something like this, which is not necessarily bad, but it looks just way less clean than probably a model in Laravel, for example. As you can see here, you have to specify the table because the table does not get inferred from the model name. You have to specify every single property that you have in your model, which is not necessarily good. You have static access to perform queries as well. And yeah, there's always a risk, man. If you are using directly SQLite like this, there's always a risk of SQL injection, indeed. And that's why you use a framework, because it protects you against a lot of that things, Create a pull request converting it to Laravel? I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. But a lot of this stuff is also like just result of using your own framework. This is typically stuff that you don't have to deal with if you use Laravel, okay? So TLDR about this model, just you are not using a framework. Therefore, there is a lot of things you are doing that you shouldn't have to do if you are using a framework. But you are, so I guess that's it. It's just, it's something that you just have to deal with. Also, like, something I would not do here is that because this model already have a bunch of responsibilities, including being a database row, I wouldn't actually put the queries on this file, okay? So here we have a bunch of queries, including finding by ID, get recent, and everything. I wouldn't put them here directly on the model, okay? But it's a good thing that you have a models folder. At least we can understand clearly what we are dealing with on this project. All right, within app, we have controllers. Let's click on the controllers and let's go, for example, into this car controller, okay? And exactly, because you are using your own framework, you have to deal with stuff like this, okay? We don't do PHP anymore like this, chat. You guys know that. This kind of stuff, we simply don't use on PHP anymore. And sometimes people who do PHP in 2025, they have the perspective that they have to deal with this stuff, which they don't, okay? I don't think there is tests on this project either. At least the ones when I was jumping into the composer.json, I don't think... We are so spoiled with Laravel, I know. FaceTime3, what's up, dude? Oh, you are actually the person who have written this, right? Yeah, man, massive respect for trying to use vanilla PHP, but also trying to build your own framework. That's something that all developers should do so they can understand the value of using a framework on PHP, okay? So massive respect, by the way. So yeah, he's obviously fetching the search and fetching the page using the $get magic variable from PHP. that gives you a search and the page and the limit as well. Then it queries the database using the model itself, which is okay. Just be mindful that when you do something like this, you need to be super careful because you are not validating anything here. Meaning that I can, in theory, give you an array here, or give you false, or give you an integer, and this will still work. Meaning that you need to validate the input always from the outside world. Just a general rule, chat, every single time you are accepting something coming from the request, always validate, okay? Always validate. And this is a clear example. If I were to give an array here, meaning that actually a query parameter that looks like an array, I will actually fetch an array here on this search, okay? And then I'm going to send that search to this get recent, and this will blow up, will result in a 500. So be super mindful that every single time, either in Laravel, Symfony, this applies to all frameworks, by the way. This applies to all frameworks, is that always validate the input. Are we clear, chat? Are we clear? Write down the chat if we are clear that you always, guys, validate input. By the way, on Laravel, I always see people also following to this mistake, meaning that they blindly use something like this. Request name, for example. This is always a mistake, by the way. This is equally a mistake, meaning that you want to make sure that, first of all, you have a form request with a name, let's say, create user or create car request, okay? And then you have proper rules on that form request as a separate object, as usual. And only then, when you have the request, you are allowed to access the actual information. And from this point, if you validate it, it will be actually a string, for example. So you can just come here and fetch it, okay? Never trust the input. In general, is a rule of defensive programming is that never, ever trust an input, okay? So on this project I am building, call it People Up, something that you can do, guys, and this is a learning, chat. This is a learning, okay? Is that you guys are using AI at the moment a bunch. So what you can do is that just ask AI, can you run a security check on my project? And I can tell you that the AI will look at this and it will let you know that this is not correct. So just type the following as a prompt to Cloud Code. Just go there and say the following. Can you run a security check on my backend? Check every single controller I have. And this is one of the examples where AI would complain because it will tell you that you are not validating the input here. Okay? Top learning right there, chat. Top learning. CVT Valley saying that always, bro. Boo. Clear as day. Thank you, Julian. Thank you. All right, let's continue. So this is, just rendering a template with a specific layout. I know this is your own framework, but ideally the definition of the layout would be at the template level. But still, you have the data being, passed to the view. Again, this limit. Oh, it does come from this place. Okay, never mind. Okay, then we have the show, which will fetch the car by ID. If the car is not there, we'll return 404. Beautiful. This is not fully typed, by the way, which is something that is probably missing on this code right here. So I would fully type this project, by the way. So integer needs to be typed. The response return type needs to be typed. You can have several tools for this. You can use Rector PHP. We'll just type your code. You can use PHP Stan. You can use all this PHP modern tooling that will just adjust your project and fully type it. Okay? So that's something I would do. All right, this is controllers. Again, there is something that could have been improved there, but not necessarily bad. Let's see the views. I assume for the views, you are just using regular PHP, which I don't know if you guys know, but PHP is a templating language. PHP by its nature is a templating language that people are now using as a backend language. Not a lot of people know about this, but PHP 30 years ago, it was supposed to be only a templating language, but people start building business on it, which is absolutely crazy. So, I assume that for this specific view, the only thing you guys are doing is just use regular PHP or use PHP for what it was made of. So as you guys can see, just regular PHP here, which is beautiful. Honestly, this is looking good. The view looks okay. Nothing to say about the views, okay? Nothing to say about the views. Services, which is interesting. Oh, here you have actually stuff that does what the framework would possibly do, like sending an email. Oof, interesting. Okay. Just by something I would do here, I assume it's a problem that it's happening all the time. Let's see. Yeah, there is really multiple problems here. Well, one of them is accessing globals within classes themselves, meaning that this is probably not testable unless you also mutate the state of globally. This is something you want to avoid. Again, if you use a framework, you don't have to deal with this all the time. But yeah, this is just the result of using your own framework. I don't think it's even fair that I'm judging this. Here you could have injected the PHP mailer as dependency injection instead of actually providing only the configuration, meaning that the PHP mailer would come already configured, or the configuration would come as a second argument, okay? And you don't need this anymore, because if you have the PHP mailer as a first argument, you can use property promotion, meaning that this is not even necessary. PHP mailer is also outdated, I think. PHP mailer, you can use the Symfony one, which is probably a little bit more modern. Interesting. Here the code is typed. Okay, this is not necessarily bad, assuming that this is the way you are logging messages. In theory, an exception is way too wide, meaning that when you guys are using a try catch, you want to be the most specific as possible, meaning that, all right, this code may run, and I may expect this request exception or this connect time exception, but rarely ideally it's not a good idea to just be very wide and say, well, any kind of throwable that happens there, you just, ignore it and put it on mailer error, So here you want to be a little bit more specific. Chat, I think the last step of this, so we don't spend the entire stream on this project, is that let's actually see the framework. So the framework is within core. So it's a separate folder with the name core. And here we can find the app, which also acts as a service container, which is static, which is not a good idea. In general, you want to have a service container within your own framework, let's say that, but do not make things static. Otherwise, this not becomes testable. The same problem as usual. Okay? So here I probably would still have app, but as a singleton, and that way you don't have to have things being static, and you can also flush the container between requests. Okay. Mindset, what's up? Nice to see you. Marokazi is saying the following: I meant the model showed before it was escaping there. Oh, you mean the model was literally escaping stuff. By the way, chat, this project, massive respect for this project. I want everyone in the chat applauding for FaceNam 3. Chat, is very important that any time or during a time in your career, you actually build something using your own framework. And I can tell you that every single person on this room, plus myself, we would always make these mistakes too. Because we need to make some of these mistakes to literally learn and understand the value that comes out of frameworks, okay? Frameworks, in the reality, they solve 99% of the problems that we would face ourselves if we were to build our own frameworks. And in general, chat, by the way, this is important, keep this in mind. If you go to a job interview and you are like literally applying to the job and the person who is interviewing you says something like, we have our own framework, that's a red flag. Type on the chat, agree if you actually agree with me. But, if you go to a job interview and the guy just says, well, we have a project, but it's our own framework, that's typically something that, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? No good, huh? No good. FaceNet3 is saying the following. In most of my models and functions I use the string or int, but somewhere I did throw some errors. Yeah, I did throw some errors because if you get the limit, for example, from the request, will come as a string, So you need, type safety is something that you probably should explore a little bit. Okay? Except if it's in review at Laravel. Well, actually, at Laravel, we don't have any project using a custom framework, meaning that every single project within Laravel uses Laravel. No surprise, I feel. Oh, yeah, house packages, absolutely. But custom frameworks, no. Okay. All right. PHP rent service. This package or this project is fully reviewed. Let's jump into... So one of these problems is of this project called it wrap. There is multiple problems on this project already. One of them is that is in Spanish. Okay, I do understand that you guys have pride to speak your own language and whatever, but just type stuff in English. Okay, when you're writing code, when you're working on programming, just type everything in English. Okay, that's it. Rule number one: type everything in English. And if you have the necessity, if you really need to have your own language on the code, use translation keys. That's it, period, okay? But your own code, your own README, your own project name, like literally everything, just write in English. Type yes if you agree with me, or type no if you don't, and explain me why. Because the likelihood when working on this field of working with people from all around the world is just huge. Okay, so a bunch of you don't understand Spanish, so a bunch of you cannot read this stuff, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's something really mindful about, is that every time you type something, just type in English, that's it, all right? No discussion, no questions, it will just work, okay? By the way, chat, we have around 60 people on YouTube, but only 20 likes, chat. Come on, man. Go all the way down, YouTube people, and click on that like button. It's the only thing you have to do to support my content. It just takes a click. So go all the way down and click on that like button. Okay? Okay, apparently someone who is Spanish just explained to me that this means build your own payment gateway. Okay? So let's go all the way down and see the README. And the README is on Spanish, so I'm not able to read this at all, but it looks okay. It's missing the installation instructions, so here I would expect to see something like git clone, composer install, npm run xyz. At least clear instructions about how to set up this locally. They are missing here on the README. Let's jump into the app itself, try to understand what we are dealing with, and we are dealing obviously with a Laravel application based on the action pattern, which is absolutely good. Also uses Livewire, models, observers, providers, and more. Let's click on models to have an idea of what we are dealing with. So we have users, subscriptions, meaning payments, refunds, and everything, products, applications. This is literally typically a SaaS with payments built in. And probably is a payment gateway, as someone on the chat was describing. Roblox is saying, I don't like observers. I don't like observers too. So let's review that. So there is a folder here, call it observers. Let's see what this folder is about. And we are dealing with observers also at the same time that we are dealing with money stuff, which is interesting. Let's click on customer observer. And the only thing the customer observer does is fire events. Interesting. So every time a customer is created, we fire the customer created event. Let's see what this does. Let's click on events, customers, customer created. Oh, this is probably because it's based on an API probably. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, on Pinkery, we really need to remove observers. So people up, it doesn't have a single observer. It's fully based on actions at the moment. Okay, this project is fully based on actions. Even the other day, I was just reviewing my own code, And I was just so happy to see how clear it is, On People Up at the moment, you click on app, you click on actions, and it's just crystal clear, like what this project is doing. You want to see how delete your social? You just click on delete social, and it's just right there. The first thing we do is delete every single snapshot we have about that social, and then we delete the social itself. Bam, done. Do you want to see what happens if someone clicks on delete his account? Look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful this is. Deleting a user receives a user, and then within a DB transaction, we are going to delete every single code the user have generated. Then, for each social we have, we are going to use the action delete social. We're going to delete all partners, and equally, we are going to delete the user avatar. It's just so clear, man. Crystal clear about what's happening, okay? And People Up is fully based on actions. I love this, okay? I love this. I would never fire events, okay? Chat, just hear me out. The only reason why I would ever use events in Laravel is for broadcasting. That's it, period. Okay, so let's assume you have an application, which is a chat application, for example. So obviously, if that someone else have the chat open, you want to receive the chats in real time. So for that, you use broadcasting, okay? So what you can do is that you have the other person using a create message action, potentially. And at the very end, you broadcast a message created that will be consumed by Reverb and sent to the other user, okay? So only for broadcasting, all right? Great question from Tafsi. How would you handle auditing? That's a great question and something that I talk about when I talk about actions. So at the moment, People Up doesn't have any auditing, okay? But the way I would do this is that if I were to add auditing to this, I would just cable right before every single handle, just a audit action, just something that says the delete social got called by this user with this information, and I would audit things myself right there, okay? I would encrypt this still, but it would be on the database in a very auditable way, okay? Okay. By the way, chat, if you just arrived, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer, also Laravel core team member. I love what I do. I love talking about PHP, about Laravel, this beautiful world we are living on. And if you enjoy my work, please subscribe my channel, my main channel, call it Nuno Maduro. And, which is, if you are on YouTube, is a channel that you are visiting me on. So go all the way down and put a like and subscribe on this channel, all right? All right. Bam, bam, boom. All right, let's jump into the project we were reviewing and let's continue, okay? So we obviously have observers and events. I don't really understand what they are doing, so let's ignore that for now. Let's click on models again. And let's review how they have set up their own models. Let's, for example, click on the user model. Okay, a few things already. This, by the way, I do have to talk with you about UUIDs today. I do recommend you guys, every time you are dealing with registration forms, always include the must verify email, unless this is doing that in some other way. So in general, and I have experience from Pinkery, and probably I will have it too, from People Up, there is always two things you can do from preventing bots in your application. Thing number one, using something like this, which you can call it capture. I'm using Cloudflare Turnstile, I think. And what this will do is that every kind of bot that uses a browser or potentially, is trying to use curl, for example, to smash this login form, it won't be able to bypass this. Okay, this service is literally for free, and you can put this in your login forms. Works beautifully. There is people who use CAPTCHA. I'm going to be honest, on Pinkery, I've used, Pinkery, if you don't know, is this social media. I have used CAPTCHA. Bots were able to bypass that, okay? So for People Up, I'm using Cloudflare. Thing number two that you should always use on registration in general is this must verify email. It's required. So people that are using a specific email, they are able to actually confirm they are who they are saying they are, Otherwise, someone with a name that just puts the email Taylor Otwell at Laravel.com will just pretend to be Taylor when it's not, okay? So must verify email, it's kind of important to have in all your user models. Something I have been doing, Chat, and I actually wanted to discuss with you guys is, are you guys familiar with this trait called it has EUIDs? Type on the chat, yes, if you are familiar with the trait as EUIDs and if you also know what it does. Okay. FaceName is saying the following: thank you for reviewing my code. I know I have a lot of things to improve, but we are still happy with what I did. Dude, what you did is absolutely beautiful. And every single person on this live stream have things to improve. I do have things to improve. There is a lot of topics that I don't know about. One of them is Docker. I know zero about Docker in 2025. Zero about Docker. I know zero about CSS, for example. All of us have things to improve. All of us. Okay, does it mean that I am a bad developer? It doesn't mean that you are a bad developer either, you know? It does mean, though, that if you are able to listen to some of the things I'm telling you, but also in the future, maybe I will take you questions. I will make you questions about CSS. I'll also need to be humble enough to learn things from you, you know? So we are always here to learn. So apparently a lot of you, if not everyone, knows about the has EUIDs. So something I've been doing, and let me know if you think it's a bad idea, is that I've been using this trait in all my models all the time. Meaning that every single model I have on my Laravel application will use UIDs by default. And I can explain you the reasoning. The reasoning behind my choice of using this trait in all my models is that if you have an application that doesn't use this, you are very likely to leak the number of users you have in your system. Also, hackers are able to understand the IDs that are actually belonging to users already. So what I've been doing, so I don't have to do this later on in the future if the project is successful, is that by default, I just start with UIDs. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a bad idea? Let me know on the comments below, on the chat, I mean. And also, put a like on this video. Come on, YouTube people, come on. Tuyajai is saying the following: you should really look into Docker. You are using Sail at the work. Yeah, I know, man. Like, every single person who uses Docker tells me you should go into Docker. But I haven't yet, you know. I haven't yet, okay? So Greenspace 10 is saying the following: I use ID for backend and UID for the front end. So the reason is because I don't see the reason why. So I have done that in the project too myself, but I don't see the reason why, if I have a UID, like, why should I just keep using IDs? Just use UIDs all the time. You know what I mean? Someone is saying you use UID or you use UULD. So I use the one that is chronologically, where is it? I use this one. Okay? I use this one. UUIDs. That are officially for indexed database storage. Okay? Julie is saying the following: internal models don't need UIDs. Yeah, but typically my models end up being used on inertia for the front end. So from that point, all of them are kind of public, you know. So this is what I use. Okay, this one. Yeah, I'm familiar that it doesn't actually is as simple for the database like just a regular database integer. Okay. All right, chat. So that's something I've been doing, and apparently you guys, do not disagree, which is a good thing. Moving forward, what else we have here? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So using property reads mixed up with property read. Okay. So apparently we have property read for relations, which is a good thing. I would advise you to just import this class namespaces so you can have relative imports, which are way more cleaner than fully qualified imports here. You see this? This is kind of not clean. You are just repeating yourself. How many times? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what you can do is just import this class all the way top and have nice imports in a beautiful way on this place. Okay. We also don't need this at all, by the way. I don't know why you think you need this. You don't need this. Maybe it's generated by Laravel IDE, but you don't need this, okay? PHP Storm will give you nice auto completion regardless. And regular PHP will also import this for you, by the way, if you are doing something like this. Okay? You also don't need this at all. I don't know why you have this. Like, you don't need none of this, basically. Okay? The S factory, when it's fully typed, like I have currently on my, let's see people up real quick. Let's click on app. Let's click on HTTP. Nope. Models, actually. Let's go here to social, for example. So what you can do is have this use as factory with this social factory generic, meaning that everything will be auto-completed. Okay? All right. So we have property reads for, I assume these notifications count and tech ones count are appended, not even. Yeah, this is all wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. You don't actually have this property ever. You might compute it with count, which might be the case, but I will still not do this. This is okay for the relations. I assume this is just relations, regular relations. Yep. In here, I would have property read to instead of having property, because property means that you can mutate this value, which you can, but then you are just providing two ways of doing one thing. One is through the update, the other one is through the save, which I don't like. Okay. So yeah, all the way down, the S factory is missing the generic trait. And this is okay. By the way, something I've been doing, chat, is that I'm literally casting every single column I have on my system. So on people up, if you go all the way down, I'm casting ID to string, I'm casting user ID to string, in type to an enum, username to string, every single date to a date time. Some of you may say, all right, but you don't need to cast an ID to string, which is true on my case of UUIDs. However, if you are using SQLite in, for example, integers on the database, if you don't have this cast int to integer, I think it's SQLite will return an integer and MySQL will return you a string. So, okay. So you don't to avoid any confusions within or between database drivers, always just cast everything to its proper type in your model, and that's it. Okay. So on Laravel, I'm always like literally explicitly specify every single column I have on my table with its proper cast on the model. Let me know what you think about this. Okay. It's a default in Laravel IDE. I've been using Laravel IDE less and less. Okay. I use very little Laravel IDE at the moment, if ever. I do have one project that uses Laravel IDE, and I'm not using it myself. It's just a colleague of mine. Blue Cactus AI is saying the following: cool vibes, love your coding sessions. Excited to see more vibe coding inspiration. Thank you, man. Julian is saying strong typing is always a good idea. I do agree with you, man. I do agree with you. So be mindful, casting with every single column in your database. This is beautifully typed right here. This is beautifully typed. Well, this is my project. That's why it's beautifully typed. But yeah, it's missing like a return type here all the way top, and it's missing all of the casting that it's not there yet on this user model. Let's go back. And yeah, this is it for the models. Let's go back into actions. I want to see the actions. So we have literally actions within folders, which is something I don't do myself, but I can understand why you are doing it. So let's click, for example, on the applications, and we have assign application. So an application might be assigned. Okay. We have this should lock. What is this? Extends action. Interesting. We do have a base action. Where does that come from? Concerns. App concerns. Interesting. Just out of curiosity, concerns is typically an acronym to, not an acronym, but a synonym to traits. In general, you want to have within concerns just regular traits, not actually classes. Okay, so here you could have potentially this abstract class on the actions folder as a class that should always be extended. Yeah, concerns are a trait, Puyapal. Agree. By the way, chat, if you don't know me, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. I love what I do. Today we are reviewing your code, meaning that a bunch of you submitted repos and we are just reviewing the code non-stop here on the live stream. Okay. All right, let's see. Wow, what is all of this? Oh, I assume it just encapsulated the DB transaction stuff. Oh, it's a lock thing, so we don't have, so we can have atomic locks. Interesting. That's crazy. So we have an action which might lock or don't lock, and if it doesn't, we just execute the closure. If it does, we just make sure the closure gets executed within an atomic lock. Okay, chat, if you don't know what this is, so locks in general is something that PHP developers don't have to deal with it all the time, but I'm going to explain to you, or try to explain to you, what it is. Okay. So let's imagine you have two HTTP endpoints, and they can never happen at the same time, meaning that they can happen if they are executed in isolation, meaning that you execute once and then after 30 seconds you execute another. But let's assume for a second that you have two endpoints where they can never, under any circumstances, be executed at the same time. What you can do is use cache locks, meaning that before executing one of the endpoints, you just say, wait a second, I'm going to put on cache this lock thing that will make sure that if the other endpoint is being called to at that given moment, it will just wait for me to be over. This is a concept in software engineer, call it locking, or in Laravel we use cache for it, but there is people who use files, for example. You might use the file system, you might use everything really. And using cache is actually a good example. And that's what this code is doing, by the way. So I assume there is actions here which can never happen at the same time. Okay. I mean, payment especially, because I assume this is a payment thing. You want to be super careful with that. It's probably the reason why this is behind all that logic, okay? So assign application, the only thing it's doing is kind of not mutating the system. It's just an action that returns content. A lot of you ask me that. By the way, let me share my screen again. Assign application is literally just returning the result of a query. A lot of you ask me that if I use actions for querying the database. I typically don't, but recently I've been considering it for a few things that do not actually mutate the database too. So I feel like if everyone on this project agrees that actions should also be used for mutating or encapsulating queries, I'm okay with that, okay? I'm okay with that. Let's go down into, let's see another action. Let's go into payments. This one feels really hardcore. Let's click on create payments. By the way, chat, this is when you have an handle method with more than 2 or 3 arguments. This is clearly the case for a DTO. Clearly the case for a DTO. Meaning that if you need to receive a lot of things, just encapsulate those within a DTO, create a DTO out of the form request, so then you can send a single object through the handle method instead of just sending the entire world, which is what we are seeing here. Okay? Do we need a solution for the deadlock manually? So, that's the type of thing that Laravel, well, to be fair, yeah, well, on that particular code, I don't know if they are dealing with deadlocks or not. I do think that Laravel is cache system. It does deal with deadlocks internally, okay? Or make sure they don't happen, ever. But yeah, this is a clear case of a DTO, especially because I can immediately understand what happened here. Initially, it was just this, and then it was just this and this. And finally, there was a vendor. But then fuck, we have vendor data too. And then there is a declining reason which was added like 3 months after the product was in production. And then there is also this. And then there is also this at the end. You can literally see that. Like vendor ID is so much far away from payment vendor, you know. So, by the way, chat, very, very, but like very important. Don't ever use floats for, just in general, don't use floats. Okay? Floats in PHP, they are danger in general. Okay? You want to avoid floats all the time, especially when dealing with money. And the reason it's because depending how the server is configured, if you call JSON encode and then JSON decode that on something that has an amount on the payload on float, it will actually return you a different number. Okay? Depends on the configuration of the server, depend of many other things, but in general, rule of thumb, never use floats in your projects. Write on the chat if you agree with me. Write no if you don't. But floats are evil, chat. Floats are evil. Real PVZ, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. By the way, I'm rude, chat. I literally forgot to ask you, chat. Are you guys having a good week so far? It's Wednesday. We are having a beautiful week so far of nice programming. In today's PHP, of course. But if you guys do other kind of language, I believe your language is beautiful too. Okay? No floats. Floats are evil. This should be a clip. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. DB Master is saying the following: I have a payment application and we use float for every single section of our code for money-related calculations. Well, you should not. Okay? I understand that for the front end, you display a float or you display something with a comma or whatever. However, for the back end, always work with cents, for example, okay? Or always work with something that prevents you from using floats. Floats are evil, man. Floats are evil. Delete floats from the language. Well, I would do that if I could, but you know, only in PHP in general, like every single language that have floats. I don't think a lot of languages have floats these days anymore, so... Wrap at DB levels are using cents actually. Well, that's good, you know. So the only thing you have to do now is prevent that you are working with floats at this level too. You may not actually see the problem that I'm telling you because you may not, for example, fall into this trap of the floating point issue, but you want to avoid floats so you don't have to even think about that. Okay? Yeah, in general, like instead of, let's say we have an amount, which is $1.10, okay? So there is two ways you can represent this. One is as a float, which will be exactly $1.10. Second one is that you just represent this as cents, basically. And that would be an integer, which is 110 cents, okay? So always work with integers. I know that it's literally a money library on the PHP world that works with BC math, and actually works with strings, which can be much bigger as well. But yeah, never floats in general. Fernando Rich is saying, you missed my question. I apologize, man. Did you actually type it? I cannot see it. Ooh, interesting. Fernando Rich is saying the following: for huge queries, how do you keep yourself organized? Myself, I use a queries folder, okay? So within PeopleUp, which is this app I'm building, I have literally a queries folder which lives right here, and this is where I put all my complex queries. You can imagine that understanding the follow and growth for a huge graph will result in a huge query, potentially with huge computations too, done with PHP. So you want to encapsulate that so you can test that in isolation. Okay? But yeah, chat, this is typically what happens. Like you end up with 9 arguments when you start adding in on top of each other. So when you feel this is happening, just convert this to a DTO. I would, this is discussable, chat, but in general, something that is clearly missing here. I don't know what new payment and then doing this does. Do you guys know if associate will actually mutate the system before we click on save? I'm not even familiar with this stuff. I always use the update. That's it. Payment payable, associate payable. Probably the save is when the transaction is committed. But in general, I use the update method all the time. Okay. Okay, this is the actions, which they are beautifully coded, by the way. But let's go back into the app folder. Can we use decimals? Well, if you don't use floats, you cannot use decimals at all. You know what I mean? You're welcome, Fernando. Mo is saying the following. What do you think usage of views on the database instead of queries? I'm against any kind of logic at the database level. I have massive applications that don't have a single view. And if you don't know, chat, what is a view? On the database systems, there is something called materialized views. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Materialized views. Okay. And what the materialized view is, it's basically a way of doing a very complex query at a database level in the way that then it's super fast. This concept got popular by Postgres back in the days, but it's still something that a lot of people trust and like. In general, I am against any kind of logic that lives on a database. I like to literally maintain all the logic on my PHP project. So then if I want to deploy that logic in a different way, it's super easy. Then for that reason, I'm against this. Okay. AAOA with a rate of 10 people. Hello, Raiders. Welcome to my live stream. If you don't know me, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. I love what I do. And today we are literally reviewing other people's projects. Okay. We are with a bunch of tabs here that we are reviewing carefully but surely. And something we're just discussing right now is someone asked me, what do I think about complex queries and what do I put them and what do I think about materialized views on database systems? And I was just saying that in general, I do think that I try to avoid complex work on my database all the time. Another example, and I actually got smashed on social media because of this, is that I never use cascade deletes. Okay, this is controversial. I know a bunch of you love cascade deletes. I don't like cascade deletes, and I can show you an example. So if I go to my app and I click on, let's say, this is my actual app I'm building currently in private way, and I go to delete user, for example, I don't need to rely on a database to make sure things are deleted. I control exactly what's being deleted looking at this, okay? So something I typically like to avoid is having these cascade deletes that then they will automatically delete rows without my consent. So I want to come here and explicitly tell my database, okay, I want you to delete codes, then I want you to delete every single social media, finally I want you to delete the partners, and then the image, and only final after that, you delete the user. And this happens within a DB transaction, meaning that if this operation fails, the entire thing will be rolled back. Okay? So again, this is just another topic of not encapsulating database systems or database complex operations on the database itself. Okay? Ooh, great question from Kanana Yanazaki. Saying the following, why you delete the data to begin with instead of flagging the record as deleted? That's a good question. So there's two reasons why I don't like soft deletes. Reason number one, soft deletes are actually against GPTR or whatever the law we have in Europe. So when a user actually asks, to delete his data, you actually need to delete it from your system, meaning that you cannot persist that data for more than 7 days, I think. So I actually just delete everything and that's it. Reason number two, I do think that soft deletes in general, they introduce complex logic to your system, meaning that after that, you actually need to make sure that you never include soft deleted data on any other query. So in general, I'm against soft deletes. I think they actually introduce a lot of, complex problems. Yard is saying you should still keep data for data retention for audit purposes. So you can still use the login system to literally keep some of the data you actually need for audit purposes. You know what I mean? Mo is saying create a new table instead of soft deletes and move them there. Yeah, well, for people up, at least I don't have that need. That's for sure. Chat, let's review this DTOs folder. So again, I was just suggesting that DTOs are great if you want to encapsulate a bunch of arguments into a single class. Let's see, for example, this payment method DTO, which extends a package from Yendel Adriel. Interesting. So it's actually not a vanilla class. And I'm actually, every single time we deal with DTOs or actions, I do think you guys should have plain vanilla classes. Not actually, you don't need a package for that. Still, he's using this validated DTO package from Yendel Adriel. And what this does, I assume, is a DTO where you can specify the rules, okay? The rules of the public attributes you do have, including if something should be required, if something should be an enum instead, or if something can be nullable, which is interesting. So it's a safe DTO. It's kind of a way of creating a DTO with safe information. Okay? But still service the purposes being as DTO. Typically DTOs, by the way, chat, typically DTOs are simply classes that contain public read-only properties that are immutable, and that's it. Okay? Yeah, this should have been read-only. That's what I was saying. Should have been read-only, but probably is not because this class is not read-only, so you cannot make it read-only. Okay. Real PVZ is saying the following. Have you worked in the project with storage moved to one system and you had to switch from... wait, what? Have you worked in the project where storage moved to another system and you had to switch from using the model to calling an API? So I have worked on projects where we have moved the storage. By storage, I mean the physical storage of uploads, for example, or the physical storage of files, for example. And for that reason, uploaded files, for that reason, I always default to S3 on my storage. S3 is probably one of the most cheapest services you can have. It's so cheap, literally almost free. So every time I'm dealing with a project with file uploads, and actually People Up is one of them. As you can see here, there is literally upload of pictures here. I just upload them to S3 and that's it. I don't have to deal or worry about that. So if I were to move this app from Laravel Cloud to Forge, will be actually easy for me because all the file uploads are on S3. One project where I have not done that, which is called pinkery.com, another social media, which contains images. I literally forgot to use S3 for the images. So the images are physically on the disk. And now this is the biggest problem we have on Pinkery to move it to the cloud, is that we also need to move the images to S3, but also adjust the code to use S3. It will be just a pain in the ass. And for that reason, probably Pinkery will always remain on Forge. Cloudflare R2, yeah, R2 is also good. It's S3 compatible, indeed. Okay, so DTOs, we also have enums. Enums are typically simple PHP enums, order status. Ooh, chat. I have a question for you, and you guys let me know what you think. When you write enums, there is literally three ways you can do an enum, okay? Let's just copy paste this beautiful enum right here. There is three ways you can do an enum in PHP, okay? Number one, you have uppercase constants like this. So you have literally case pending with a pending fully uppercase. And let's call this the option A, okay? Option A. Option B is the one I'm using recently, which is uppercase the first letter, but after that, everything is like lowercase. Write on the chat if you use option A or option B. I do use option B all the time, okay? Uppercase the first letter, and that's it. Unless you guys think it is an option C, which I don't think it is, but do a pull. How do I even do a pull on this stuff? Dude, how do I even do a pull? I have literally no idea. On YouTube, a lot of people are saying, not if not everyone, option A. This is crazy, Shad. So you guys prefer this. You know, I prefer this. I think this is a little bit more clean. You know what I mean? It's not PSR 12. I'm going to be honest, I don't really care about PSR 12. I use the Laravel coding style, which is not PSR 12 compliant. But, you know. /pool. Someone is saying, all right, let's go Twitch. Let's type /pool to see how it goes. So /pool. Ooh, just works. Okay, then I type option A or option B, option A, option B. Duration 2 minutes. Okay, let's go. Bam. Is the current pool working? Oh, you are a Symfony developer? Chat, what do you guys think about we bring some Symfony content here, literally using a project or building a project with Symfony as a Laravel developer? That would be so good, right? Oh my God. On YouTube, that is literally everyone using option A, which is very interesting. Oh, all right. Real PVC using option B, but some people on option B too. Okay. All right, guys. You guys won. You guys won. Yeah, simple enums. I like the way the project is structured, by the way. So we have actions where actions live. We have casts where casts live. Concerns where concerns live. We have DTOs, enums, events. By the way, chat, this is the way I like to see apps being built these days, with clear naming for where things live. So we organize by type, not by module or by feature. We always organize by type. Okay. All right. Let's see one more thing. Do you want to see queue jobs? Yeah, nothing really special here, or nothing special to say at least. Without overlap, this is literally the locking we're talking about. If you want a job that can never happen at the same time as other job, what you can do is just use this without overlapping, which does the locking thing we were talking about. Locking is no more than just putting a file or a key on cache and make sure that, you know, before starting something, you see if that thing is there already. So in this case, if we start this given job, it will put something on cache, and then the second job it comes, we'll wait for this job to be over. Okay. Oh, great question from Kiola Kora. Why not organize by type and not by features? I do think in general, organizing by features is just introduces complexity, or complexity you don't need. At least for the projects I have developed, I feel like organizing by type, having a models folder with all models, having a controllers folder with all controllers is just way more clear for me, from my point of view. Okay. Hey Dot, how you doing, man? How you doing? By the way, chat, in case you don't know me, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. I have a favor for you, okay? A favor that I need to ask you. My brother, and yes, my brother is literally working on my new YouTube channel, call it Nuno Maduro Clips. Contains, like the name says, just clips about PHP and more. So if you guys could give me a hand and just subscribe to this channel, I would really appreciate that, okay? So let's see some of the composer.json to see what we are in terms of tooling. In terms of tooling, we are using Laravel Pint for styling, beautiful. Past PHP with a past plugin Laravel, okay. Vector PHP, which is beautiful. Thank you for this. And I see that you are using this, meaning that you like to see my streams. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So here we can see that Reactor PHP being used. We have parallel coverage with coverage 100%, chat. Wow. Code coverage 100% of this project. Congratulations. The only thing it's missing here is type coverage, okay? Go to pastphp.com. You will see a section about type coverage. Is the only thing I would add here, so you can have a fully typed project using PHP. Okay. 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 Stefan is saying the following: we are planning to use MCP server for our API, and I suggested to refactor HTTP handlers to actions. They love it. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Mauro Casas is saying that in terms of authentication, is using Sanctum, which is a Laravel project, using Beavers, and yeah, which is, you know, kind of the default too. I'm also using Sanctum on my People Up project. All right, chat. I want everyone clapping for Mauro Casas for giving us this project so we can investigate what he is doing. In general, dude, I think this is a senior Laravel project. Okay, a senior Laravel project, obviously with 100% code coverage. So congratulations on that. There is clear signs that this project is not totally new. Okay, probably, you know, looking at all those arguments on that action, potentially something that exists for a while already. Yeah, again, wow, wasn't this stuff in Spanish? The guy literally just updated the README during my stream. Here we go. Oh my God, this is literally Nuno's reviews making some work. Beautiful, man. Again, having everything in English is very important, chat. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, let's review one more. What time is it? Yeah, one more project. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to let you guys choose, okay? So write on the chat which project you think we should review. We have the Weight Tracker, which is a Laravel app. We have the Buzzly, which is a full stack Laravel powered buzz reservation system. We have a Breakdown, which is a command line tool for analyzing HTTP requests. We have Hook Press, which is a Laravel package, and Puyapal, Laravel extended relations. Type on the chat which one you think we should review. Bam, bam, boom. Again, Laravel extended relations, Hook Press, Breakdown, Buzzly, or Weight Tracker. Wow, having everyone saying his own project does not help. And of course, Tony said Hook, which is another one different. All right, Puyapal's project already have 2 votes. Laravel extended relations. Meanwhile, while you guys vote, in case you don't know me, my name is Nuno Maduro. Give me a follow and a like below if you can. How many people do you have on YouTube? At the moment, we have 66 people. And how many likes? Let's see. 50 likes. Not bad, but could be better. Go all the way down and put like on this video if you can. All right, let's go with the Puyapal extended relations. All right, chat. Let's talk about this. On the PHP world, we have Laravel, of course, the best framework in the planet, but also Laravel allows you to develop packages for Laravel, and this is used or being used or based on Spatie Skeleton Laravel, which is a great way of starting Laravel development as a package. In general, Puyapal, my package, I do have a skeleton in Laravel. Probably I don't, now that I'm thinking, but yeah, anyways. This is a great way of literally starting your own package for Laravel. I'm going to send you the link. Spatie package skeleton, okay? README in English, which is good. Package provides additional, more efficient relationship methods for Laravel Eloquent models. Okay, so if I'm using Laravel Eloquent, which I am, I will have more methods to interact with relations, okay? Good README so far. We have 144 stars on this repo. Let's actually give one more. Here we go, chat. Here we go. Okay. Let's go all the way down and see what we have here. Laravel Extended Relations, a project with more than 6K downloads. Works with PHP 8.2, PHP 8.3, and PHP 8.4. So this is 2 years old. For that reason, probably it's PHP 8.2. Okay. What is the need for extended relations? I like this, okay? I like this. As general rule, chat, when working in documentation, do not showcase the feature. Always start with what is the problem, What are we trying to solve? In documentation in general, it's always important to always like make the person reading familiar with the problem this package is solving. So let's read this. Laravel Extended Relationships package provides additional, more efficient relationship methods for Laravel Eloquent models. This package offers several useful features such as reducing the number of database queries, improving performance, and minimizing duplicated code. I faced this issue myself and made my own relationships, then realized that I could actually make this a package. This is the way we can start with a package, and then I just have to include this straight, beautiful, and then I have to define this belongs to many keys relations. Okay. So if I use this belongs to many keys, so instead of using something like belongs to many or something like, interesting. So this will fetch all of the auditors that are specified foreign keys on here. Wow. So instead of having literally an auditor creator, an auditor updater, and an auditor deleter as a separate relation, what I'm doing here is that I have a single relation where I can fetch all of them, but I can also access to every single one of them individually. A very interesting package, PFL. And it's also lazy loading, meaning that it will literally fetch them all at the same time. Oh, the other way around, I mean. And I can also create the relation in the other way around, meaning that the user got audited by 3 different people. Very interesting. Not bad, chat. Not bad. All right, let's see the actual code to see how it goes. In terms of usefulness, I can immediately understand the value. But let's actually go to the code and see what we find here. Just a regular package structure with .editor ignore, git attributes, git ignore. So you can actually, kind of regular git stuff. A changelog as well, where I can find everything being new on this project. So I have the changelog on this new version number 2, which we dropped Laravel 10, but we also dropped support for PHP 8.1. Hey, Simon Curado, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. Welcome to the live stream. Let's click on source and see what we find here. So we find a trait that people are actually including on their models. We also see or get access to, see all the belongs to, and has many methods that this package is actually offering. On top of that, do I have anything to say here? Like, honestly, it looks clean, man. Looks really clean. Nothing really to say. Looks beautiful, Puya Pao. And here, this is a very small package though, right? But yeah, it's looking clean, man. Congratulations. Let me try to find something that I would say. Well, I would type myself the array shape of this arrays, but, I do get why you are not doing that, but you could have done that, all right? Array shapes for the win in array shape. Chat, don't forget that. Don't forget that. You have done it here, but not on the return type. So that's something I would add myself, okay? Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, dude, there's literally nothing I can say about this. Let me see the test suite. Architectural testing using past PHP, beautiful. You have a test for each one of the relations, yeah, just great. And you are actually using models to test this via integration. Chat, this is actually important. Like, for example, Puyapal have developed a few belongs to methods, but he's actually using Laravel models in the actual database to make sure they are actually working as intended. And a lot of people will tell you, and this is wrong, by the way, okay? Either it's wrong or I am wrong. You let me know what you think in the comments. You shouldn't be hurried on touching the database in your unit tests, okay? A lot of people will tell you, unit tests, they are for testing in isolation, blah, 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 blah. Just ignore that, all right? This is a clear example where we are testing at unit level. This new belongs to array column, which is a method that this package is providing. But to actually make sure he is working as expected, we are literally creating a database row and then fetching results from the database too. So this is the clear and obvious case for me where I would not be afraid of interacting with the database on my unit tests. And I'm going to tell you already, all my unit tests on my products, and I have built a bunch of them, including Laravel Cloud, which is an app that is generating, a lot of revenue. Laravel Cloud has a full unit test suite that touches the database. Every single test, I refresh the database, I boot the database, I put stuff on the database, and I fetch stuff from the database to make sure my code is working as expected, okay? Typically, a sign that you can detect that you should be touching the database is if you touch on the internals of your method, but the outcome is the same, and your test suite fails because of that, that's typically a sign that you should actually be using the database to test your code, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Laravel controllers is something that I would never test at unit level. I would always do an actual get and always fetch a response from it. So yeah, in general, just try to avoid, just try to avoid not touching the database. Just go all in on it. Julian is saying, personally, still, I wouldn't consider it a unit test. It's an integration test that looks like a unit test. I don't know, man. For example, imagine that you have something which is a rule. So it's a rule class which makes sure the email is valid. Okay? But sometimes making sure that the email is valid, it's way more than a simple reject expression. Okay? You may actually use a database behind the scenes to check if the email is valid. Imagine that for the email is valid, the email needs to be unique on the database. You may have to actually fetch the database within the rule class itself, So what I would do there is that I would create this unit folder with rules folder within your valid email test, and I would actually let the valid email test touch database behind the scenes because that's the behavior I want to test. So, what I do, and I can actually show you my people up SaaS that I'm building. I'm going to show you a concrete example. So this is people up, a regular Laravel application in 2025. I click on tests, okay, and we have browser tests with past PHP v4. So actually using Playwright behind the scenes to click on buttons, XYZ, blah, 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 blah. But we also have a feature folder. Now, what I have on features is typically what I like to consider entry points of my app. So my app might be interacted with in 3 different ways. Number 1, HTTP layer. Number 2, the SQS or jobs layer. Number 3, the console. Okay, and there I test entry points. Okay, what happens if someone gets the list of users, what I am returning actually. Okay, so this is called feature testing. But then I have this unit folder, which contains literally a mirror structure from my test suite. Okay, so if I go to something like rules, for example, I have 2 rules, one of them being valid email, and the second one being valid slug. These 2 are touching the database behind the scenes, and I just let them touch the database. Just go all in. Okay? Just go all in. By the way, chat, if you just arrived, my name is Nuno Maduro, PHP and Laravel developer. Go all the way down and click like on this video if you are enjoying the content. Okay, if you are enjoying the content. Boy Julian is saying that the code is clean, meaning the code of Puyapal, of course, I assume. And he's saying the following: Puyapal, if you can, read the README, beat ahead. So there is one more interesting relation. I think I saw it on the list of relations afterwards, okay? Julian is saying the following: of course, eat all depends on what level you want to test. The example you provided does indeed need a DB because you have specific business requirement that cannot be easily mocked. Yeah, but I'm also, I'm still testing that rule in isolation. Like the only thing I want to test is that rule, is not the entire system. For that reason, goes to the unit folder. Okay. So great test suite here. Puyapal, you are one of the people that have been working with me for years now. So a lot of what I'm going to find here is stuff that you probably also checked some of my work before. And for that reason, congratulations. This is looking awesome. Nothing really to say about this. Beautiful documentation, beautiful instructions, beautiful README as well with the security vulnerabilities being reported through email. So I love this. MIT at the end. Nothing really to say. I want everyone clapping for Puyapal project, chat. Puyapal project. Tiafanis is saying, I like to use features. I'm going to be honest. I'm also a fan of a features folder. So typically, again, I have unit, browser, and feature, but also just below that I have features, which typically is something that will populate something that I need for my tests. Okay. Clap, 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 clap. Chat, by the way, so the goal is the awesome package, indeed. Awesome package, indeed. By the way, chat, the goal is that we're going to stream next Friday again. So again, as a reminder, if you are not in my live streams for a while, I'm streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays every single week. That's my streaming schedule. Regarding my YouTube channel, the current schedule is one YouTube video a week. However, I may actually end up publishing multiple videos a week, but if that happens, it's just because I was just productive that week. But typically, is a YouTube video a week. And just as a reminder, I literally just published a new YouTube video that talks about the way I rank web frameworks, and I got smashed by it. Like, I was kind of expecting it, honestly, but when you put Laravel in the first place, S tier, and you put React in the S tier, it is all the other people that don't do React and don't do Laravel, and for that reason, they see like Angular and Next.js on C tier, they will just smash me hardcore. So, when you rank a framework in general, it will always be opinionated, and I was kind of expecting that. Ask them all to hype the video. What do you mean? What means hype the video? Do you have a hype button? We don't have a hype button. What do you mean hype the video? What means hyping a video, man? I have literally no idea. Okay. And yeah, let's maybe review one more project if you guys are still down to it. What do we have here? Oh, breakdown. Yeah, let's review this. Okay. Right now, we're reviewing a project with the name Breakdown. And what it does is a command line tool for breaking down and analyzing HTTP requests. Not bad. So basically, it just gives you a nice breakdown or a nice list analyzing your HTTP request. Super clear. Looking into the README of this project, we can see that it's a CLI tool, which I love CLI tools. Not a lot of downloads. Interesting. Just by the way, in case you don't know, I have something on past PHP called stress testing that will give you all of this and way more actually. But still very interesting, by the way, to be able to see the total time a request took, but also the time to the first byte, which is exactly this what we are seeing here. What else we see? Response size, final status, beautiful. I love screenshots. In general, if your README have a screenshot, it's just super clear what he's doing, okay? When is the next review stream? Oh, typically I do review streams when I'm out of topics. You guys love these sessions, so that's what we do. Every single time I have a little bit of time, I just do it. Oh, I love the API. You just type breakdown and then bam. And this is what I like to, when I talk about taste for API, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is so easy to use. Just type breakdown URL, bam, that's it. And you just get everything. Love the README, love the usage. Let's actually see the code. So I click on compose.json, and what do I see here? Let's go all the way down. It's using, wow, interesting. So it's using Symfony console and Symfony HTTP Foundation. Is using Termwind, which is a package I have developed for the styling. Okay, something I would change here. So this is actually incorrect. This does nothing, by the way. Having this or this and this is the same thing, okay? Doesn't do anything really. So you can remove this, this section right here. It's also a little bit outdated. I think you can bump your PHP numbers. Like supporting PHP 8.1 is just too old. Then you are relying on Guzzle for HTTP requests. You have Laravel Illuminate support, which I think is something just too heavy for a package. The Illuminate support would just bring a bunch of stuff that you probably don't need to have in your global dependencies. And Twig. Why do you need Twig here? I thought it was a console application. Twig is just, it's a HTTP render engine, which is interesting. Okay. Laravel Pint for styling, Past PHP for testing, PHP Stand for type safety, the usual. Okay. The usual stuff, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I assume that if I go to how do I run the entire test suite? There is no scripts. There is no scripts. Okay. That's something I would change here is that currently to run Pint, Past PHP Stand, and kind of everything as a test suite, I need to run every single command individually. So what you can do is have a script section at the very end that will combine all of the test suite commands. Okay. We have the app.php, which I assume will literally start the app, which is a Symfony application. Okay. You add a single command, which will be the default one too, and then you run it. Beautiful. Let's click here on apps and see the actual command that does the breakdown. Ooh, love it. So we have an abstract away getting the breakdown list of stats into the service class, and then I assume you're just sending all that DTO, all that information into this build view, which will use Termwind behind the scenes, I assume. So love the separation of concerns. Beautiful code right there. Analyze with S. I think you can type analyze with S and Z, I think. You can literally type both, and both are correct. Okay. Okay. So let's click here on DTOs. Yeah, this is literally the DTO that is being, this is what I was talking about, chat. Like literally having this DTO. Wait, what? You have more than one class in the same file? What do you guys think about this, chat? Having literally more than one class in the same file. Wow, you brave, man. You are going against the gods of PHP, man. By the way, chat, I am actually strongly against PHP not allowing this. Okay, this is going against PSR 4, meaning that it's not actually valid code, but I'm actually against this. I think PHP should allow this. Okay? If you go to any language in the world, meaning things like, Go, for example, with structs, or Rust, for example, with structs too, all of them have multiple structs in the same file. So why in PHP we cannot have that? Okay? Which is a curse and a blessing at the same time. It's a blessing because people actually organize files by class, doing some separation of concerns, which is a good thing. but is a curse because you are losing some of the simplicity that you could have with something like this. Okay. So TLDR, this is like a 5 out of 10 because it's a 1 and a 10 at the same time. PHP does not allow you to do this. Okay. Okay, Alex. Chris is saying it's cool for simple data objects. I know it's cool, but it's not allowed with PHP. Meaning that if you want to actually include the other class as a separate instance, for example, or a separate object, PHP will actually fail. Okay. Let me click here and see how this class is being loaded. Is it a file thing? It's not. As you can see, it's literally PSR4, meaning that if you were to type use other from this namespace, this will actually fail. This one will work, but not this one's on the bottom. Okay. By the way, just in general, the rule about floats also applies here. Never use floats. Usually a bad thing. Okay, chat? What is abstract data? Wow. Yeah, I'm generally always against this type of reflection because you just lose a lot of type safety, just literally all over the place. But I don't know. Let's click here into the app again. Let's see, for example, something called lib. What is lib? Lib seems to me a place you just put everything that you don't know where to put. Actually works. I just tried. Wait, what? Seriously? I don't think it does. We can try real quick. So I have an action folder. Let's go here and create a new file with a name, person, for example. Okay. So within person, I'm going to have the class person. So this will be actions class person, which is empty. So I have literally an empty class. And just below, I have a class with the name NunoNation, okay, which is you guys. So if I go now to the console, if I go to my console.php, let's actually go to index.php. Why is this complaining? Strict types of claim must be the... Oh. And I type something like this. Let's just require real quick auto load. And then I type something like person equals to new person class. So this is actually supposed to work, or at least I think it will work. So php index.php. Yeah, it works, as you can see. So if I type here now NunoNation, this won't work. This will fail. See? It does not allow. I think you guys are super being confused here. So this won't work. You cannot have multiple classes in the file in the same. Basically, the class needs to match exactly the file name. That's the reason you cannot have this. So this won't work. Okay. Even if I type composer dump autoload, which will basically just autoload everything, this will still not work. I don't know how you guys... Oh, actually, I do know. So if you actually do this, NunoNation, still don't work, okay? But if you do this, if you include the person class before, then it will work. You guys want to see? Here we go. Okay. The reason why this is working, it's because PHP or Composer, it's literally Composer autoload, was able to find was able to load this file because the person PHP matches the person class. So it did load it here. And for that reason, it also loaded at that given moment Nuno Nation. Okay? That's the reason why it's also working now. But if I were to remove this, it does not work. If you guys, ever want to actually have this working, that is something you can do. Okay? Don't tell this anyone. Can you try this format? It won't work, Tony. It won't work. There is something you guys can do that will make this work, but don't tell this anyone. Okay? All right. I want you guys type on the chat. I won't tell anyone if Nuno tells me how to make this work. Okay? Type, I don't tell anyone. And I will tell you something that you can use for this. I will post it on Twitter. Like, what the heck? Oh my God. Tony is saying to try app person Nuno Nation. That won't work, Tony. Well, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. As you can see, it doesn't work. Again, PHP autoloader doesn't work that way. Basically, we go to app folder, to actions folder, to app person folder, which does not exist, and then searches for the Nuno Nation file, which does not exist. Okay? All right, chat. I'm going to tell you something you can do to make this work, but top secret, okay? You go to your composer.json, and for this kind of files, instead of using PSR4, which will do that lookup per folder, okay, you do this. You type comma, you type files, and then you load that file individually. Okay? We'll load that file individually. Yeah, this is literally bad stuff. Don't use this ever. Okay? So then I'm type actions, person.php. What will happen here is that Composer will automatically load that class even if you don't need it. Meaning that if I type composer dump, this will literally prepare Composer for that. Meaning now that if I type php index.php, hopefully this will work, which it does. Bam, bam, boom. Top secret information. Don't do this at home. Don't ever do this, chat. Like top secret information, okay? I actually know top secret stuff that nobody should ever know. I'll refactor your old code base. Oh my God. All right, chat, let's make a test here. Let's make a test. I know things that nobody knows, okay? Nobody knows. I'm going to tell you one thing, okay? Private person, let's give a name here, Tony, okay? Without using reflection, okay, how do you fetch the value from person? How do you print Tony? Like, how you literally see Tony on the console? Like doing something like this, Nuno Nation equals to Nuno Nation. What code needs to go here? So basically, you see Tony on the console. You have access to the private attribute. Priyapal, you know because I have told you to. I've told you already. But without using reflection, chat, does anyone knows this? Top secret information. What is my name? Nuno Maduro, dude. Nuno Maduro. Okay, does anyone know? Again, DD? No. Well, probably. Well, that's actually that's probably a good argument. But what I want to see here is like I want to create a new variable person that will contain the value of this private thing. __ call? No. You cannot change the class file. Don't get in trouble for sharing this classified information. You cannot change the Nuno Nation class. You cannot change the Nuno Nation class. You can also not use reflection. Wow, Tiffany is saying class object this. What is that? Class object. It does not even exist. No, that does not even exist. So, okay. I'm going to tell you, but you guys cannot tell this anyone, okay? So there is something you guys can do, which is the following. You create a short closure, just like this. I'm going to actually make a YouTube video about this. One moment. Eval, that won't work either. But you can use eval, yes. Get object vars, that's a good point. It won't work either because object vars is for public properties. But let's see. Maybe object vars will give you what we are talking about. It doesn't work. You see, this only prints like private, public stuff. So if I were to make this public, then you would see it, as you can see. But if it's private, you cannot. Okay? All right. Let's make this a little bit more clear, like type name and make this person. Without using reflection and without changing the class. Let's make this final read-only so it makes it even more strict. Okay? Why this is complaining? Property must have a type specified. Oh, yeah. All right. Amazed how you know so much. Dude, I'm only good with PHP in life, man. And Jim. Chat, I'm going to tell you something that is literally top secret information within the PHP world. Nobody wants you to know this. It is literally something that nobody knows, okay? Nobody knows. And I'm going to ask you, do you guys know how to access this private property within the person class without using reflection and without changing the class itself? Do you guys have an idea? I do have something that allows you to not only get access to this property name, but also mutate it if you have to. Top secret information, super classified, but this is how can you do it. I'm going to go all the way down, and the first thing I'm going to do is create a new person object. Okay? Just like that, just like normal, I'm going to create a new person. Once I have done this, you can use this magic thing. Okay? It's called changing the this from a closure. So what you can do is type this, name variable equals to a new closure, and within this closure, you will just call this name, okay? Now, here, you are just pretending that you are within the object, meaning that the only thing is just blah, 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 blah. By doing this, you are literally accessing the this of the object, but next you need to bind it or bind this closure to the object itself. Top secret information. You just do this, and then you just do call person, okay? And now, if you type dd name, guess what you see on the console? Bam, bam. Oh my God, 1 second. That was so bad. Bam, bam, boom. You see Tony at the end, chat. Top secret information, chat. Right there. Here we go. Here we go. PHP will become banned thanks to you. I know. Okay. So, in other words, chat, I think I'm going to redo this one. It was so bad. Jesus Christ. All right, let's redo again. Sometimes you have a final class in your vendor directory with a private property that you cannot access. And they make the class final, they make everything like super strict. You don't want to use reflection, but you also cannot change the base class. So there is actually a way on PHP where you can access, not only have access to private properties, but you can also mutate those private properties, okay? To do that, the only thing you have to do is create a new instance of that class, and then you make this short closure access to the private property just by doing this name within the short closure. And finally, you call that short closure, but binding that short closure to the person class. And the result of something like this, as you can imagine, is having you giving access to the private property. And you can also mutate it. Like if I were to do something like this name equals to Nuno, for example, this name equals to Nuno. Now, if I access the name again, it should actually have Nuno. Feels like a vulnerability. Top secret information. What could possibly go wrong? That's right, chat. Nothing is really private in PHP. If you have been told that, you have been lied into your face. Nothing is really private in PHP world. Oh yeah, I'm using this stuff all the time. I'm gonna be honest. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, especially from coming from a Laravel core member. I'm using this stuff all the time. Sometimes I want to make stuff actually private on my packages, but I want to still testing them, so I just do this. Hacker Nuno, oh yeah. Oh man, we should do a live stream just about stuff like this. You guys want to see one more? You guys want to see one more? Just watch this. Do you know a way of executing a console command directly from your PHP code? Top secret information. It's called the backticks operator. You can't just do this, chat. Top secret information. Literally top secret information. Bam! You have an ls being run with the backticks. You know that one? Oh my god. Oh my, dude, if there is stuff that I'm good at is with this kind of deals, man. Like PHP hacking deals. You guys know the jump one? Oh, that one is funny too. You can literally jump in the PHP world. Oh, I forgot how to do a jump though. PHP jump. It's a go-to. Yeah, it's a go-to. Yeah, this is also powerful. So you can have actually something like this. Echo. I feel like I shouldn't go know this. I know, this is just bad. Watch this. So I'm going to type echo 1, echo 2, echo 3, echo 4. Which, you know, obviously will just display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can actually do this. Let's call this and, for example. And after displaying 1, I'm going to type go to and. And what this will do is display 1 and 5 because this will jump from the end to the actual end. I love this, honestly. This is like good code, huh? This is good code, huh? We started with reviews and now we are actually doing good stuff. Here we go, and here it starts. Tony is saying the following. There is actually many cases where I would have learned to know this. You saved me a lot of trouble. What the hell? Oh man, if we start jumping into this kind of crap, I know so many stuff, Chad. Wait until LLMs know about this. Oh, they know about this, I can tell you that. All right, Chad, let's do the following. Next live stream, next Friday, I'm going to come with 20 examples of crazy PHP stuff, okay? Yeah, we need to do about the stream about this. Next Friday, I'm going to come with like 20 examples of the most weird shit that you can find in PHP. And this is just the beginning, by the way. There is stuff which is way worse than this, okay? Chat, I see you guys next Friday at the same schedule as usual. Now we are streaming a little bit more early, which is I like more. Do you prefer this schedule we are doing recently, which is from 5 p.m. UTC to 7 p.m.? Let me know. You said once that PHP have a function for everything, which it does, yes. What should use an integer instead of float? Oh, well, let's save that for Friday, but I will show you Friday an example of literally floats breaking PHP. Hey, Rizzy Liz, we're about to finish, man. Apologize. But still welcome. By the way, chat, before you guys leave, be sure to go all the way down and put like on this video. I would really appreciate that. And also as a reminder, my brother is literally starting a new YouTube channel. Yes, a new YouTube channel, which is clips about my work. So if you guys could support his work, I would really appreciate that. You just have to click on the follow button, and that will really give me a help, okay? Yeah, I also like to schedule more, because then I can still work for Laravel and go for a coffee outside and everything. It just works much better for me, okay? That being said, let's rate someone as usual. As you guys may well know, I like to rate people using Twitch. Your stream with Napoleon. Dude, this Napoli. Matthew Napoli, not Napoleon. What the fuck are you saying? Yeah, I should have Matthew again. He's awesome. All right, who I'm gonna raid? We have the Code Drift as usual, but I've been raiding Code Drift a bunch already. Do you have anyone doing PHP? We don't. Do we have anyone doing JavaScript? Oh, ho, ho, ho. Good question. We don't. Napoleon crowd was Robert. What do you mean? Okay, let's see who is doing software game development on Twitch. Ooh, someone doing TypeScript. Interesting. You guys want to raid that one? Yeah, let's raid this person doing TypeScript. I think it will be fun. Well, looks fun. So it's called Draft or Drathi. Okay, let's see. He's doing TypeScript. So something that could be fun, chat, for all of you on Twitch is when you guys go there, once you arrived, just smash the PHP emoji that is on my channel. Okay? Let's actually do that, chat. All right, chat. I'm going to give my Twitch link so all of you guys can do that at the same time. This will be hilarious. Oh my God, here we go. All right, YouTube people, go to my Twitch channel so I can start the raid, and then we go there, and you guys just type. What do you type? Oh, you just type. I think it's double points PHP, and that will appear the PHP emoji. It'll be hilarious. It will be hilarious, chat. Bam, 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 bam. All right, chat. I think that's it for me today. I'm going to raid the drafty person who's doing a bunch of TypeScript, which is awesome. I love you guys so much. Catch you guys next Friday to apparently explore a bunch of dark magic and PHP. Love you all. That being said, peace out. Boo.